Oh, it's absolutely beautiful here today. Stunning weather, and it was a stunning day yesterday as well. So I hope it's nice wherever you are. I'm going to start teaching in about 3 minutes. I usually come online and just chat for a moment. So if you're new to this, don't get put off. I do start in a moment. It's just I'm waiting for people to arrive. So hopefully we'll get a few people watching, but maybe because it's a sunny day, everyone's out in the garden. Anyone who knows me knows my spotty mug now and my capacity to drink tea endlessly, but there we go. Hello, there's someone there. Who's that? Let's see who we've got. Oh, hello Emily, how are you? Thank you very much for all the pictures you sent me. And I will put them up soon. Thank you. I love it when I get sent pictures. Oh, we've got some more. Jane's there. Hi Jane, how are you getting on with your picture of your dog? And who else have we got? A few other people. So I'm kind of changing the days around a bit at the moment, as I explained, because I've got a lot of lessons and also a number of other personal things going on this week. But I'm here today and I'll be here again on Wednesday. So put that up on your calendar or whatever. But if you push the button to say see when Jeannie goes live, then I think your phone will always notify you when I've come up live anyway. So you can do that. And let me find a clean page here. I'm just rifling through the pictures here at the back. Oh, I don't think that was a clean one either. No. I'm going through these too quickly. That was the one I did the other day with the lady I was teaching, showing her about seascapes. So that was a private lesson. I think most of you now know that I also do private lessons, and I'll do them as the whole course, which is 3 hours on sketch, 3 hours on perspective, 3 hours on paint and colour, at the end of which people are doing remarkable artworks, and then I'll sell them in my shop for you. And also people are selling their artwork from those lessons all over the world in their own unique styles, which is something I'm very proud of. Hello Sandy, nice to see you. Other people just want to do a clinic where you show me one picture and I'll show you a few tips with that. I know that there's at least 3 of the 6 of you have done that with me in different ways. So, you know, it really does work. It really does make you understand what's right or wrong, or how you can improve what you're doing very, very quickly. It's usually some very simple thing that no one's ever pointed out to you before, and then once you've got it, you can just go off on your own again and sort it all out. Anyway, I feel like the camera's a bit too close today. Hang on, let me move back a bit. There we go. Oh, that's better. Right, so oh, thank you. I'm getting nice compliments from Jane there. I know that there's a few others there that have done it. I know that you all enjoy it, but the hardest thing is for me to get people to realise what I'm doing is slightly different. They all assume I'm teaching the same as their teacher does. And I think most people who've had the lessons with me say the speed you learn with me is very, very different, because I'm always explaining why, not just how to do things. Cool. Right, so for today, just quickly, for anyone new, as I said, I do private lessons very rapidly, 3-hour progress, 10-year-old girl, 3 hours on perspective. Even architects say they can't believe what they've learned. 3 hours on paintbrush technique, 5 lesson progress, 90-year-old stroke victim, 4 lesson progress, 50-year-old German lady, 3 lesson progress, 40-year-old Sri Lankan man. So don't get put off by the fact you don't think you can do it. It's nothing to do with that. It's about actually understanding how to do it. So we're going to do things about trees and blossom today. And we're going to do it in a few different ways. Again, I seem to have fallen into that format of teaching. Emily yesterday sent me her toilet roll person with the hair from a pom-pom thing. Absolutely unbelievable. She should be doing little fashion models like that. So really take my ideas and run with it. Many teachers will show you exactly what your final conclusion should be. I don't want to do that, because all I want to do is just ignite the flame, let you have an idea and then run with it. Because again, with my art shop, everybody's art, all my students' art is different, and that is good. They're all basing it on knowledge, which is what you're basing your artworks from these lessons on. but at the same time, take it your own way. Have a bit of fun with it. Don't feel that you have to do it my way. You don't. I'm just giving you ideas. The whole idea of this was to do my bit for the NHS by entertaining people while they were stuck at home. And if you do want to donate anything, I'm not charging, but please donate to the NHS if you do want to do something. And I think they're doing an incredible job, and the job just seems to go on, and the number of nurses and doctors and things who've become ill, and unfortunately some died, is unbelievable. And so anything that goes towards them is a good thing. So please feel free to do that. And of course, if you want to put any nice comments about me on TripAdvisor, Facebook, fantastic, because that encourages people to believe that they're safe with me. So there we go. Right. First thing we're going to do this different ways, and then you go off and have a jolly good play and show me what you get up to. We could draw our tree on white paper, which isn't my favourite, as anyone who knows me well knows, but you could come on here and you could draw a tree. So we're going to do the simplest version of it first, and that's going to go like this. Here's our tree. A tree grows up from the ground, so we're going to draw it up from the ground. So I'm going to start from the ground with its roots, and I'm going to take each line up and out. Now maybe I need to use a bigger black pen so that you can see. So right, we'll go up into a thicker one. So we're going up and out, and you can see it better now. Then I'm coming back down to the bottom, and I'm going to come up and out. And I might actually use an excuse to come up through the trunk again, and then out, and up through the trunk again, and out, and just very simply start building up a tree like this. And also remember to let things cross over sometimes. Crossovers makes things more interesting. And then obviously each of these branches might subdivide out. And let some of these cross over each other as well. Don't try and stand everything separately. It's a bit awkward. It never looks real. And as I keep going up and up, I'm letting the pen marks get smaller and smaller and smaller. And if they don't all exactly join at every point, it honestly doesn't matter. But very quickly, you've got a really nice looking little tree. That's the simplest version of it. What you could then do would obviously, you could draw some leaves and blossom and things onto it, which if I do here with some green felt pens and things, I could draw on some leaves. Again, if you can, never use one colour when you can use two. And I've said this before, so look, I've got two different greens. The minute you have two different greens in two different places, not all separate necessarily, it might be that you have half the leaf is one green, half of it is the other green, but the fact you've got two greens here, and I'm just doing little marks, again, they don't have to join exactly. Everyone's got this thing that every leaf has to join. The viewer's brain will join things together for you. If you do join everything together, it's what I call clonky. I'm just going to bring you a bit closer so you can see. So I refer to it as being clonky because it just looks too contrived. And if you look out of the window, you can't see where every single leaf is attached. There's no way you can, so don't draw it. We tend to draw what we think we see rather than what we actually see. So by having a variety of greens in it, even go mad and have 3 or 4, but can you see the minute I've got the two different greens, it starts having more movement and more interest. And it doesn't mean to say one branch is one green, one's another. It just means that it's where the light's catching the different leaves. And again, I might even put a few yellow ones in, because that little bit of yellow, again, just lifts it again, and it starts making it more interesting. The same with the tree itself, by running a few bits of yellow and that up some of the branches and the trunk, and maybe a few little bits of orange up it, it suddenly starts taking on life and interest, and it suddenly suddenly starts looking so much better. You could also do this. You could put a few bits of grass around the bottom of the tree, which always kind of again makes it more interesting. And again, don't make it all neat and tidy. It always looks better if it's a bit random. Again, look out of your window. Even if you have the most beautiful garden in the world, rarely is everything totally in order. And one of the things that makes them look even nicer sometimes is the chaos of it all. Now, because I used black to begin with, I'm going to put a few, oops, not with that one, clearly. With this one, a few black grasses in there as well. Not because the grass is black, but just it gives it a bit more continuity, and it kind of just gives it a few shadows and brings it together. I might even just put in a few little black leaves, which sounds odd, but it's just showing where the shadows are catching some of the leaves. And very quickly, you'll get a really nice picture. If you were using paint, I would suggest putting a few bits of grass and that actually cross the bottom of the tree trunk. If you're drawing in felt pens, that might be difficult, but you know, having crossover is always a good thing. So that's that. We could then, of course, with pink and red or something, draw blossom onto the branches where we wanted it. That's one option. But that's where I thought we'd have a bit of fun. Now, in an ideal world, which we all know at the moment it isn't, I would have pink. But I haven't got any pink, so I'm just going with what I've got, which is purple. So this is going to be an Australian tree, and it's going to be a jacaranda, because I used to live in Sydney for many, many years, and in spring in Sydney you don't get pink trees, you get purple trees, and they're jacaranda trees, and they're very beautiful. So just for a minute, we're going to have to imagine that we are in Australia, which isn't such a bad idea, but I don't think any of us will get there at the moment with the flights as they are. Oh, now my glue's gunged itself up again. So, back to the old system, we'll go to the sellotape routine. So, we've got sellotape. I'm going to do it with swiveled sellotape, but you obviously can use glue. And when I say swiveled sellotape, what I mean is making reverse twists with the gluey bit on the outside. And then if we get tiny bits of tissue paper and screw them up, and then stick it with glue or whatever on the back, we can then stick our blossom onto the tree. Now, many, many years ago when I was a little schoolgirl, I had a teacher called Miss Mortimer. I don't know if any of my old school friends are watching today. And she did two things. I think it was Miss Mortimer anyway. She did two things every year, which was brilliant for a little girl. She used to draw you a birthday cake with all the right number of candles on the blackboard on the day of your birthday. And the other thing was every spring we got to make a spring tree on which we stuck blossom. And really, if I'm honest, that's where this idea came from. So it came from a 5-year-old class that I would have had long ago. And as it's my birthday very, very soon, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but it's quite a while now. So I stuck on one white one using toilet paper, just being economic with what I'm using around the house. And I haven't got any white tissue paper. This one I'm going to mix up some white and some purple together. So it's toilet paper and tissue paper rolled up together. And again, I'm going to attach that. And if you do a blossom tree, you could also remember that you might as well let a few bits of the blossom fall onto the ground, because that makes it look so much nicer. And some of these, if they're in the distance, could be really small little bits of blossom. And the ones that are nearer you could make a bit bigger to give it a sense of depth. And so there we go. One blossom tree, and you can go nuts with it. You could go back to making the little carnation flowers really, really small that we did the other week, and you could put those on it. I'm too close again, sorry. I've got all my distances wrong today. Right, there you go. Now, that was idea 1. Idea 2 is this. I'm going to have to take you on a quick walk for this. Jane, you ought to watch this. So this is a quick walk for number 2, which is, this is a model that my grandson and I made together. And I hope you can see it, but this is a little wire tree. And there's some other ones here we did with green florist wire, and we've got this one here with the silver florist wire. And what we did was we took the whole bunch of florist wire and twizzled it together to make the stem or the trunk, but we left these bits at the bottom out, and we clustered them into like 5 little legs for the roots, and then we twisted them together. And then when we got to this point in the tree here, we separated all the wires, and there may be 100 wires. We split them into, say, groups of 30 here, and we twisted again for a while, and then we split them down to, say, groups of 10, and we twisted for a while. Then we split it down to groups of, say, 5 here, right on the ends, and then we twisted for a while. And so basically it was one clump of wires which we've twisted out and out and out to make a tree. Now, if you then took that tree, you could dip it into paint to give it a brown colour, preferably not one matte colour, maybe have like strands of yellow and orange and things, and dip the tree into the paint, so it's got slightly different browns and that as it goes up. You get this beautiful gnarly effect where you've wound the wires together, and then on top of that you could either stick little bits of tissue paper in greens, but again, as I said, not one green, but greens for the leaves and little bits for flowers. I actually bought this stuff with him from Hobbycraft, but if you can't get out, that might be difficult to do. But basically it's little bits of sponge. So it's tiny little bits of sponge. So you could even break up, say, one of your washing up sponges by the sink, and then put some green paint or some green food dye on it or something, and you could use that. So if you put those bits on, it's from Model Making Things, that looks really nice as the leaves on your flower, on your tree. So that's one idea. That's number 2 idea, to do it with wire. Now, obviously not everyone's going to have florist wire around, and not everybody's going to have paint necessarily, so that was just an add-on one. I wasn't making that whole lesson, but I thought I'd just suggest it. You could do that, I suppose, the same with pipe cleaners. You could twist like 10 pipe cleaners or 20 pipe cleaners together, then pull out little groups of, say, 4 or 5 for the roots, and then break it up at the top. You might end up with a very rainbowy sort of tree because it would be so bright, but it's a really nice idea. It's really good fun. Jack and I had massive fun doing that. Oh, hello Hilary, how are you? And so the next one, and I've got Pamela's there. You're all coming in now. Okay, so this time when I draw the tree, instead of only using one colour, I'm going to take the lids off a few different pens at once, and this would be the same with crayons. A lot of people think you can only use one colour at a time, which I think is a bit of a shame. So if we got 3 or 4 of these together, like this, and then drew our tree, so let me see, so I've got you on screen so you can see what I'm doing. So then if we drew our tree, I'd want to have them kind of lined up like this, I suppose, to start with, to do the root. So I've got them sort of in a line like that to begin with. And then if I draw round with all of them touching the paper at once and come out and up, you can get some really interesting ways of getting a tree very, very quickly, or even if you're more comfortable only holding 2 at a time. Just the sheer fact you're manoeuvring 2 colours at once starts giving you variety, change, distance and all sorts of effects. So don't get stuck with the idea that you can only use one colour at a time. So I'm just putting the lids back on these ones. So you can draw the tree and then draw all the bits on. You could draw a tree and then stick all the bits on, or a combination. You can make the tree in 3D with florist wire, with pipe cleaners, and then attach things to it in a three-dimensional way, or even go to the extreme we did and do a whole environment to put the trees and things into. The other one, though, we're going to do is going back for more of this Japanese idea, which is rather nice. Remember, you also could have sat this tree on a completely different colour background, all manner of things. I'm just going to point you down a bit now because I'm going to use lower bit of the page. So if I just do that. So if you see Japanese art, they often, make sure you're going to see this. If I make that the page, just so you know what I'm getting at, they often have a branch just coming in from the side, and they'll have some of the dark marks on it like this, just so that you understand what's happening. And the other, same as my branch, it will get thinner and thinner as it goes. So it might start off quite wide here, and I'm not just blackening it all in, I'm almost drawing the marks of the grain of the wood round, and I'm coming in from both directions. But say here, I might start to separate. And what I'm doing is I'm splitting, just like with the wires, this branch here down to two smaller ones. So this branch is now breaking down into a smaller branch here and a smaller bit of branch here. But again, it's then going to start opening up and breaking out again. Now, you could always draw it lightly in pencil first if you weren't confident to just start breaking it as you go. But I'm doing that so you're getting the effect of this branch creeping across, getting thinner and thinner as it goes. And breaking down to being less and less and less and less and less. And here I'm just going to do the same. And then start breaking it up. And again, let things cross over sometimes. It always looks good if bits and bobs cross over, and even let something fall off the edge of the page. Don't be frightened to try and squeeze everything in. So maybe that one there needed to go right off. And we get a beautiful branch that's gone across. And I'm doing it, as I said, not by just blocking it in all black, which you could do, but I think by coming across with these marks, both from the bottom and the top, it's starting to tell you more about the texture. I must admit, this one's looking a bit like a silver birch at the moment, which wasn't exactly my plan, but there we go. If it looks all right, we're not going to worry about it. So I'm just going to put a few more dark bits on it, but I'm leaving some of it light. And you've got a nice branch to work across with. And then on top of that, we can go back to our idea of either using mini versions of the flowers I showed you the other day, and as this one's a bit bigger, I'm going to make the flowers for this one a bit bigger by just screwing up tissue paper. And I'm going to attach that in little loops. You should use glue, would be probably easier. And I can start putting these flowers onto the branch. Now, the other day we used green tissue and I showed you how to do leaves. You could do some little cut out green ones as well. I'm not sure where my green tissue paper's gone. I'll put it away somewhere safe, which I don't know what happens in your house, but when I put things away safe I never seem to find them again. So here we go, there's another little flower going on, and you could get that sort of almost Japanese beautiful blossom tree. I'm going to do one now again with both the white and the purple, because variety is always a good thing. The minute you go into dead flat colours, the whole picture becomes dead and flat. It's that simple. So I'm going to put a bit of tape behind that one that's got white and purple, and you can see immediately it gives the picture a lift. It suddenly adds a whole other dimension to it. I haven't got any green tissue paper today, but I've got this, so I could make a couple of little leaves by maybe cutting off a strip of this green and then folding it backwards and forwards a few times to save myself time. And then I can cut out the shape of a leaf through a number of layers at once, and that way I'm saving myself time. Now if you've got different shades, again, that's better, but if you hadn't, you could always put a bit of paint or a bit of felt pen or something, or maybe even some of the veins of the leaf on a few of them. And if I put a couple of these on now, here and there, all my leaves have stuck together where I cut them through, which wasn't, again, exactly what I was hoping for today. Whoops, there we go. So I'm going to stick 2 leaves like that, so they're kind of connected to each other, and then I'm looping the tape behind them. And I could stick those, say, here, and then I can make another little flower with another screwed up piece of tissue paper. Another trick with tissue is you can dip it in paint and get some really beautiful effects. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. So if we just attach that one to those leaves there, you can see the whole thing coming to life. Now it might even be, I don't know if anyone's parents would let you do this, but you could even paint a big branch across the wall on a bedroom wall and then actually add 3-dimensional flowers to it or something. That could be quite beautiful. But please don't quote me that I said you had to do it or anything. It was just an idea. So there you go. So a branch. Now this might have been quite nice if we'd done a blue sky in the background first or something as well. So you could have done it on a pale blue wall with a nice dark brown and black kind of branch with some highlights, and then stuck 3D things across it. That's a thought. The next one we're going to do, I'm going to do in paint. Whoops, wrong way. I need to go the other way. Oh, that's going to have to come off first. It's going to intrude it into the painting. So if I take that off, bring over another sheet of paper. And this time, if I do it in paint, oops, let me just get one more. And we didn't mention paint in the instructions because I'm assuming not everyone's got paint, but if I do show you, you might remember for another time. So I'm going to use 2 brushes for this. I'm going to use a straight one like that, and I'm going to use a round one. The round one I'm going to use for the round things, the straight one I'm going to use for the straight things, which the minute you say it makes a lot of sense, but often people don't think of it. So I'm going to squirt out a bit of these paints. I've got some dark brown for my branch or tree, whichever way we go with this. So that's that. And I'm going to put out some pink, and I've got some white. So that should do the job. And I'm not going to bother putting out anything else. Just grab a little bit of water here from my jug, and we shall have a go with this. So, square brush, wet it, squeeze out the excess water, so you don't want too much water there. Lay the brush deliberately to get more paint on one side, which will actually make it easier. And I'm going to be a bit sneaky. I've got a bit of grey on my palette as well, so I'm going to put a little bit of that on the other side, just to get a bit of highlight and low light. And wet the brush again a little bit, and I'm using it as a line. I'm not using it broadside like that. I'm using it like a line, and I'm going to press into it. Oops. I'm going to press into it, and as I go across, I'm lifting the weight on the brush so the branches get thinner, and then I'm coming back here to what I would call the motorway, and then I'm going along again, and then I'm going to start literally branching out as if I was going onto an A road, getting less. Then I'm going to come back to my main branch again, and maybe branch out again. And by the time I get to the end, you can see the paint has less colour, less density, and you get the illusion of it becoming finer and thinner. If I wanted to build it up even more, then I fill it up with brown again, and I can put a little bit of grey on the back again, just to give it some interest, because you can see here it just looks more interesting. It's not one flat colour. And I'm starting here again because I'm using new paint, and I'm actually going to thicken this branch up a little bit. I need a bit more water, so I'm coming back from there again, thicken this one up a little bit. And you'll see as well that the stronger one appears to come forward. So I'm just messing around with these a little bit. And that's one way you can do it. Another way I've seen these done is to have you brush this way, and you come across this time with the brush broadside and let it come and go a little bit like that, and then twist it sideways to go out into your branches. And again, where it's stronger and weaker actually gives interest to the branch and variety, so you can see different ways of doing it. Some of the bamboo pictures that the Oriental people do are fascinating, the whole brush strokes that they use. But anyway, either way, you've got a nice branch to start with. And then if you go onto your round brush now, because we're now doing something round, again, wet the brush first, and then put both white paint on one side, or one shade of pink on one side. So I've got white on one side, and I'm going to put pink over here. And now, if I come back to here and then come straight down this time with the brush, I can actually make up like little sets of 5 petals, like this. And if I move around a lot, it stops it getting boring. Again, if you only work one area in your picture at once, it all becomes very samey. So I'm going to go over here now, and I'm just using the end of the brush to help make the flower. So I'm using the shape of the brush, I'm using the pointy bit out, and you can see these flowers turning up. I'm reloading my brush with 2 colours again. And you can build up your blossom. Another good trick, if you have got paint that you're using to do this, is let a few of them cross the branch, and that as well, it actually makes it look really nice if you've got what I would refer to as crossover. Now, I accidentally picked a little bit of brown up, but it doesn't matter, it just makes it look like shadows. So don't go mad if something doesn't quite go as you planned, because often that mistake is better than what you planned. So I'm still doing white and pink, and I'm just going to go a bit faster with it. And the fact I've got 2 colours there, and that I'm not exactly joining to everything, and as I'm letting the brush dry, as the brush is running out of paint, I'm just taking myself to places that might not show as much, more distant. I'm also making some marks smaller, some flowers smaller, some bigger, and I'm basically just playing around, having a bit of fun. And very quickly you can build up a branch. And if you wanted to, I've got a kind of muddy brown colour here, which I haven't put on here for this, but it will do. So I've put a bit of white with it. And if I wanted to, I can even just put a little bit of that in the middle, not of every flower, no need, but just some of them. And then it gives you the hint that maybe some of them have got the centres showing. And so basically for today, that's pretty much it. So we had the 3-dimensional tree with wires. We had one done quite simply in black felt pen, coming up and out and up and out, and then felt pen flowers and leaves, and we used a variety of greens rather than just one. We then did it by sticking blossom on. This was showing you how to draw a tree with more than one pen or one paintbrush in your hand at once. This one here was doing it with a black line or brown lines, black and brown if you wanted, maybe on a blue background, maybe on a wall, and then sticking 3-dimensional flowers onto it. And then this was showing you potentially how you can do that sort of thing with paint. And just to close, because it's annoying me, I'm going to stick another branch in this one, because to me that looks too controlled that it's all down there. So I might even now let this branch lay across the one below, which again gives you even more depth in your picture. And then if I put new blossom on that one, it will come away again, and I can build it up. And I could be doing deliberately into individual flowers. Some of them I don't need to, because not every flower keeps each petal, and they all come out in different shapes and sizes, and you can see how quickly you can build up to something. And all I'm doing is literally using the shape of the brush to dab on the paint, which can often be more effective than trying to exactly replicate each flower, because again, look out of the window, it's not actually how we see. We don't see every detail on everything, and the minute you do that, you actually spoil your picture. So this one here needs a bit more work, and then I think for today we are done. Anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I will be back on Wednesday, and I will come up with something else new, I hope, by then. And I would love to see any more artworks by any of you, because I haven't had many lately. Emily sent me some lovely ones yesterday, but a lot of the rest of you haven't sent many for a while, and it does mean a lot to me to actually see what you do, because and then that gives me a bit of a buzz too, to think that I've set you off on doing something exciting and new and different that you might not have done otherwise. Anyway, there we go. Have a bit of fun, and I will see you. I will see you all soon. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the day in the sunshine. Bye.